Okay, so on the line here, I have Kevin Mao, and he is a physical therapist in California. And even in light of the current uh, coronavirus COVID-19 crisis, he says that business is booming. And I just wanted him to hop on the line and share some of his story with you regarding his experience in working with me to develop his copywriting, his marketing, his client guiding. So Kevin, welcome. And first off, just thank you for hopping on and taking time with me today.
Of course, no, thank you for everything the past couple of months. It's been brief, but it's been very valuable. So
Excellent. So we connected just before the whole world seemed to shut down. But can you tell me a little bit about where you were at in terms of your marketing and your business before we connected?
yeah, absolutely. I hadn't have a big problem getting clients in the past, but I knew that, because I had previous coaching for marketing beforehand, that just kind of gave us like a template of how to talk, some scripts, and just a base kind of marketing platform. So we were doing pretty well beforehand, but I always kind of felt that there was an outside view that was lacking in terms of, because I was working primarily with other physical therapy business owners and a physical therapy business coach. And
Yeah.
that I felt like bringing somebody else on just to give me a complete outside perspective in terms of my copywriting, in terms of my marketing, just to make sure that, just to get verification, I guess, that everything is good, but also just, you kind of hear the same voice over and over again, and you kind of want to hear a different voice. And that's kind of why I reached out, to you, just to get an outside view in terms of, what you think is working well and what you think could improve upon. So
Yeah.
that's kind of why I reached out. And secondly, I was in a position where I wanted to definitely scale to multiple practitioners, and to do that, I wanted to ramp up my marketing. But I knew that there were some really leaky holes in terms of my sales funnels, and I didn't want to crank the dial in terms of marketing until I knew I could at least patch up some of those holes, or at least see where they're coming from. So that's why I reached out.
Yeah. Well, I do remember that in that moment, you had gone through a lot of training from top copywriters in addition to working with these coaches in terms of building a physical therapy business. So you had a solid foundation, but at the same time, you recognize that you were still coming up a little bit short of where you
Yes.
wanted to be. Was there any specific uh, pain point or frustration that was happening at the time where you decided to move forward and work with me, or like something that you specifically wanted to achieve that made you say, Roy, it's time to talk?
Um, I think that, let me try to think about that for a second. So I think the greatest pain point was that I knew that the conversions from my website could be much higher in terms of Google ads and just kind of SEO, like Google links in
Yeah.
general. And that for some reason, the biggest pain point that I had was writing these kind of Google landing pages in a way that sounded like, or more like, how I had generated clients through just direct response ads in the past.
Yeah.
And there was a huge, for some reason, this mental barrier that I couldn't write for a landing page as well as I could write for just like a normal article and ad. And I guess I just needed permission that I could do them both. And that's kind of what you allowed me to do. Is that
Yeah.
that was the
I
biggest one.
definitely remember that. I remember that being, I can generate traffic over here. I'm getting leads over here, but they're not converting the same way that the traffic coming from over here is. And how can we just kind of identify what's working and bring it all together into the best possible experience for the clients, the prospects, and for your business. So what was your experience? What have been so far your 1 to 3 biggest takeaways, action items, or changes in the way that you approach offsite copy, on-site copy, strategy, anything in terms of that you've gotten from working with me?
Yeah. So there are two big things in particular that you identified this, that I didn't know that I was doing it decently well. I didn't know that that was kind of like the 80-20 point of what was actually making things work, was the whole concept of the NUPP, the new understanding of the persistent problem. And that I
Yes.
did not realize that in the successful ads that I'd done in the past, that was kind of the mechanism, that was the trigger, that was the thing that kind of got people to start thinking to themselves like, oh, this is how this guy could actually be different. And that kind of the NUPP just kind of links together like all of these like the USP, the DSP, like all of these different things that you learn about, but it's so hard to convey like what the USP really means. And
Yes.
it's not anything that I do differently. And you help me realize that it's how I explain it to the prospect is what makes it tick, is what makes it work. So I can't know if I'm any more skilled than any other, clinician or provider like in my area, but I know that my understanding of being able to communicate to help them understand what the actual root cause, what the mechanism is for them. So that was huge. It's just the whole coaching around the NUPP, and like it just frames that whole kind of USP DSP thing in a much better light, because I don't know if I provide something different, but I know that how I can interpret it is the kind of the mechanism is what
Yeah.
works.
So basically what you're doing in the copy now is you are teaching people why their problem has not been solved.
Yes.
And by teaching them why their problem has not been solved, you're also setting up so that when they actually come and have a consultation with you, they have the understanding needed to frame your services in a way where they see how you can solve that problem now.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's
And
great.
what that has done is it has this is probably the biggest thing, is that the total amount of leads I've gotten probably hasn't gone up significantly, just because of COVID, and just because we're making some changes and are not really ramping up. But the biggest kind of objective tangible change has been the significant increase in the sales conversions since that.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
when you link the marketing into it segues right into the sales conversation. It leads to a much easier conversions. That's where probably the biggest like objective like proof that it's worked has been probably a 25% increase in cold Google like leads and stuff like that. So
that's awesome. So like, I mean, what that means is you're not spending anymore on advertising. The leads haven't necessarily increased, but your total revenue and profits from the advertising sources is increasing just by having the marketing cohesive with the selling, cohesive with like the decision making process of the leads coming in.
yep.
Cool. So how a lot has changed this year. So it's probably hard to pin down like how life has changed specifically as a result of working with me. But if you could estimate it, in light of having to shut down your practice for a while due to COVID and everything that's gone on, how has life changed as a result of working with me?
Well, just real quick, tangibly, we had a call like right when we got shut down, and I was going to make the switch to virtual care
Yes.
and start marketing to a completely new market. And we jumped on the call. We went over some sales copy for a landing page, and it actually went quite well. Where we generated about $25,000 worth of revenue that I just wouldn't have generated otherwise had I not done that. I could have, just felt sorry for myself and just kind of locked myself in the room and just waited for things to pass by. But decided that we were going to try to make this kind of virtual thing work, and
Yes.
and
That's
it
awesome.
works. It worked well enough for it to be well worth it, and that's it really helped us get through like the couple of months where we were prohibited from seeking care and treatment. So that's right there, just tangible, like immediate, just like help. Where and the second thing, we talked about this on different calls, is that when I'm just kind of like writing copy for myself or just for my own business, sometimes it's easy to just like put it off for the next week or for the next week and just say, I'll just do it. I'll do it the next time. But having somebody that keeps you accountable and that
Yes.
is a master and an expert, and that you kind of really, really want to show up and do your best work for that person. And it really, I wouldn't have banged out these landing pages had I not had a meeting planned for a guy that I knew was going to be able to give me some really good feedback and just really help me elevate my skill level. So just to see things in a way that I just can't see. And I think one of the biggest things that I think any copywriter, any marketer can struggle with is just putting in hours of work in for you to not know if whether or not the extra work you're putting in is actually improving your message or improving your product.
Yeah.
So that's huge. Having that, because again, you can write for like 24 hours straight. It doesn't matter how much more work you put in if you're pedaling up the wrong creek or something like that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Excellent. So I know that one of the initiatives that you kind of were starting prior to the whole COVID shutdown was bringing in additional clinicians. And I know that right now that's still on hold just because of keeping everybody healthy and safe and dealing with an uncertain situation. But when things clear out, do you feel like some of the transformations in your marketing and copywriting is going to help you grow your business in the way beyond, Kevin running the practice and Kevin being the primary clinician, or how might that assist with that initiative going forward?
I mean, yeah, I think if I can find a couple of clinicians and train them the right way and just put myself into the marketing seat for a while, just to start marketing my book that I've got finished but just haven't had the time to market it. And just, absolutely, there's just I just know I have a lot of confidence that if I just put myself in the seat of spending majority of my time doing marketing instead of treating clinicians or treating clients, that I know I'll be able to feel the practice and then at some point be able to step away from that practice because we've got the system kind of in place. We know it works and we can just kind of let it run smoothly. So
yeah. Well, I mean, and the great thing about it is this investment with me has been it's a time limited investment in the time you spend with me and the specific campaigns we work on, but you're developing understandings like the new understanding of the persistent problem that you'll be able to use over and over and over again for as long as you want to grow this business.
Yeah, the second one being NUPP, but also just the story emphasis. I think that was probably the biggest breakthrough. That in addition to the NUPP was like I have this goal buried in my testimonials in my website that you're like, why isn't this center stage? Like, why aren't you like you know what I mean? I was like, and I start kicking myself. Like, I just didn't see it. I just didn't really realize that. But not only that, it's just how to put those stories like center stage in all future copy and all future kind of articles and ads. Maybe not every single ad that I write is going to be involved like a story of a person, but it's just the story in general of maybe the client kind of struggling, go through their own story and things like that. That in combination with the NUPP, or you realize that those are the big points of what makes it tick. And I've been able to see that now that I'm aware of it over the past couple of months in having these initial phone calls with prospects or doing the consultations with them. Like, that's what they need to hear in order to get them to believe in me, and then for them to ultimately, put their money up and for things to work.
Yeah. Well, as a physical therapist, I mean, you are like the people who come into your clinic are dealing with things where their entire days are consumed with the pain and the limitations that are part of what they're dealing with. And so when you help them with that, you're creating these incredible transformations in these people's lives. And by making that the highlight of your marketing, when somebody else is dealing with the same symptoms, they can see the the transformation in their own life in the future. So that's awesome. So one last question: if I made an offer to work with me or get direct feedback and coaching on copy, marketing systems, client getting, all that, what would you say to someone who would be considering that?
Well, I would definitely say that it's too damn hard to do it by yourself, and that, like, you again, I would spend hours upon hours just with myself and my own thoughts, and just trying to come up with the version that I can't really know if it's better unless I test it. But
Yeah.
but ultimately, just having somebody just kind of tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, just shift over here, can make so much difference in terms of your mindset and just the ability to just see things for how they need to be seen. Just getting that outside view perspective is just so crucial and important. So, if it's something that you actually want to be good at and want to excel at, you need coaching. And Roy's just a really nice, humble guy, and he's just going to tell you what you need straight to the point, and that's what you need in the coach. So
Awesome.
should do it. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Kevin. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing a little bit of your story here.
Sure thing.
Awesome.